Tonight, we are lucky enough to have two speakers. Breeann was a classmate when I was here, and she provided a lot of value to the School of Business in her time as president of the Business Club. She then went on to work at Scotia. She did her internship there while a student, and they offered her a job. So if you do well in your internship, they can lead to job opportunities. So just that. After her time at Scotia, she went on to work at the government of Alberta, and she is working in culture in their accounting department there. And her mother, Sharon, is a manager in the public sector as well. Thank you. Hi everyone. I have not been in this room since I was a student. And I remember the one class I had in here, I was like, wow, university is still full of kids, and then you get to hear what they're talking about. Today we're going to talk to you about financial stability and how it can change your life. Before we get into our stuff, we'll tell you a little bit more about who we are. So I know today was so kind to give such a nice introduction to me. I did finish my degree in accounting here at Furman. I worked for a year as a financial advisor at Scotiabank, where I learned a lot about personal finance. Some things I find you don't necessarily get from your classes, and you need to experience them. But during my time at Scotiabank, I also learned that being an accountant doesn't mean that you understand personal finance. So having knowledge in both, it makes a huge difference in your stability. Since graduating, I've had some financial milestones that I'm quite proud of. So I bought my own house, I bought my own car, a brand new car, I should add. Able to find a stable job and make an income that is fairly good. I also advanced very quickly within my company, so I moved from an intern position to a management position in 5 years, which is close to unheard of in government. And all of that is because of this knowledge that I've amassed. Another thing that I'm really proud of that I did while I was still a student is I started talking to my mom about the things I was learning in school. Yeah. And so a lot of that translated into her financial guruness that she is today, where she took back control of her finances and honestly changed probably the course of your financial future. If you want to take it from there?
Absolutely. Yeah, so my name is Sharon, and Breeann, I think in 2017, came home and said to me, Mom, do you ever read those statements that come from the bank? And I said, no, like I wouldn't even know how to make heads or tails of them. And she said, really, Mom, no one really actually cares. The bank doesn't care about your money. They care about their money. So it would be in your best interest to take a look at those statements. And I said to her, honestly, Breeann, when I open them, all I see are numbers and they make no sense to me. I'm a social worker. I worry about what people feel, what are they thinking. I'm not a numbers person. She said, if you start reading it, you will understand it. So, okay, give it a shot. So I sat down and I think the first thing I read was the management fees for my GIC. I said, that's why after 20 years, it's still $10,000. And I've been putting money in this and nothing's been growing because the management fees are where the money was going, right? Going directly to the bank. So that started my journey into understanding about. And she talked to me about managing my credit card and taking responsibility for my finances. So that began my journey into understanding what it meant to be financially stable and financially responsible. So I owe all to
too much credit, but so just a quote to start us off here: expect the best and prepare for the worst. This is an excellent quote to guide our conversation today and your finance journey over the course of your life. A lot of finance is about preparing for the future. There's an older belief that you have kids, you grow old, your kids pay for you. That's not what we're about here. Lots of you have parents who are growing old, you don't want to pay for them. So it's all about planning your financial journey throughout your life cycle and what it feels like not to be afraid every time you get paid and pay your bill. We're going to go through 5 here. So the first one is living within your means. The next one will be understanding credit and debt. This is a huge one for you. If you're in this room right now and you don't have a credit card, hopefully after this presentation, you are going to go straight to the bank and get one. 100% advise it. Saving for a rainy day. So what does that mean? Investing and maintaining wealth. So now you're finally graduated, you're making money. What do you do next? And then enjoying retirement. And how can you enjoy retirement? How can you get to that? Financial stability. So what does financial stability mean? When you achieve financial stability, it should really feel like balance. You should feel less stressed. You should feel like your income and your expenses are working in synchronicity. So your basic needs are met. You should be debt-free. This does not mean that you don't carry debt. You may have useful debt like a mortgage or even a car payment or a car loan. But debt-free in this case means that you are not burdened by your debt. You should have funds set aside for the unexpected. Unexpected being things like losing your job. Maybe you have family in another country and you need it. Things like that shouldn't leave you stressed. You should plan for them ahead of time. Save is another big one. Sometimes we might think that we're at a financially stable step because we pay our bills and there's a little bit of money left over and you can buy those nice shoes or you can buy a new sweater. But you don't have any savings. So setting that money aside is also another important step of being financially stable. And then finally, my mom's favorite one, being able to invest. So not only are you setting money aside, but you're making sure that that money is growing. You're maintaining the value of your money with inflation. So, $1 today is not what it was a few days ago, and $1 tomorrow will be worth even less. And so for that reason, it's important to have your savings invested. So again, takeaway from that part there, financial stability is really being at peace with your finances, being able to sleep at night and not dream of your bills or worry about what you're going to.
Financial stability sometimes means changing your beliefs about money. For some people, it means coming to the conclusion that money is just treats. It's a way of being rewarded for your work. It's not yet. Is very self-defeating and can be detrimental to relationships. Name is Melody Beatty. She says, we will receive as much money as we think. Change your belief about money by setting goals, starting where you are, and working slowly to where you want to be. Financial stability starts taking responsibility for their finances. As an attitude, money comes in to pay for the luxuries. Unless you have money in the bank, don't spend money until you have it in your hands. Pay your bills on time, talk to your creditors, just take financial responsibility. There's some basic principles that you can employ to set your finances into shape.
And it transitions really well into the next part here, which is living within your means. So we define living within your means where your expenses do not put pressure on your income. And the most important part to getting there is identifying a want versus a need. So from those of you in the room, Does anybody have an idea of something that might be a want, but not a need? Shout them out.
Sports car.
Your sports car? Sorry, go on again. Any other wants that are not necessarily needs? The newest iPhone, that's a really great one, actually. Anyone else? Brand new phone. Anything else come to mind? Okay, what about necessities? What are some needs that food? Absolutely, right? Shelter would be an essential. Right. When I'm trying to figure, right? So you may want Lululemon, but you definitely need clothes. There is a little bit of a give and take there, and that's sometimes where living within your means comes into play. Just because we want something does not mean that we cannot have it. In financial stability, when you have a want that is not a need, you save towards it. It becomes a savings goal. So when I worked at Scotiabank, something that was really cool that we had was a momentum savings account. I'm no longer employed by them. This is not a plug. But what was cool about the savings account is right in your bank account, you could set what your goal was. So for example, another want could be to go on vacation. It's not a need. Visit somewhere cool. You would put vacation directly on that savings account. And so it helps you psychologically say, every time I set $20 aside, I'm working towards my vacation. So needs are things that we have to buy now. We're going to talk a little bit about them as we move through the presentation. But wants are things that we save towards. They're things that we don't necessarily need to buy. And sometimes they're things that we can replace with something that's more within our price range.
I think a really good key is sometimes to save for those wants, there are little habits that you can do, right? So like if you're a person that uses cash all the time, you might want to save your $5 bills in a jar, right? And you do that for a year, and then you're able to purchase something that you desire. So it's just little tiny habits that can really have an impact.
Another important part of living within your means is to stop doing the tug of war with your revenue and your expenses. This specifically is referring to that moment you get paid and then you open your bank account again and the whole amount that you made suddenly disappeared to all those bills that you were owing. That's a tug of war where you never even get a chance to think about your wants because your needs ate it all up. In order to win the battle in this tug of war, you need to inventory your spending. So you need to actually sit down and look at where your money is going. This is something that you can complete with a financial advisor if you don't want to complete it on your own. Or this is something that you can sit down, just you, yourself, your spouse, and write it all down. Earlier, my mom mentioned reading your bank statement. In your, whether you're a Visa user or a debit card user, in that statement are all your transactions that you've done in the month. Sometimes we glaze over them, but to actually go back and read through them and be like, money left my account, where did it leave? Is the first step in doing a spending inventory. So the first question you would ask yourself is, where is my money going? What amounts are coming out of my bank account? One of the most common ones that I used to find in banking that people didn't realize was coming out was a gym membership. You know how they make you sign up, you put in your credit card, and you're all gung-ho for like the first couple of months, and you're lifting weights and you're feeling good, and then kind of hit like a downward spiral. They're still charging you, and you're still paying for that. So canceling that frees up money. It's all about finding what expenses did you not think about, what's happening in the back of your mind. What money is coming in, and where is it coming into? So sometimes you might have a job that is paying you cash, and we tend to like to spend and forget cash. So if you have cash coming in, depositing it in your bank account might help you keep better track of the money that's coming in. If you are with a spouse and you've joined your finances together, that might be another instance where you're not totally aware of everything that's coming in. Maybe one paycheck is going into a different account than another one. Bills are in one account, paychecks are in another account. Look at what is coming in. Is anything going to your savings? So if you're reading through your statement and there is no money whatsoever that's being transferred to the savings account, that is a red flag. I want to note that down when you're doing your spending inventory. Am I setting anything aside at the end of the month? When the month ends, is there anything left over? This one is so much what we talked about before, but what are you paying for? Do you have other expenses in there that you're not totally aware of? So maybe it's not a subscription item. Maybe up here.
Maybe your favorite trip to Winter, after work.
You always stop at Winners on the way home. It's a way to really stress. Suddenly, you didn't notice that you're buying a new shirt every week.
Yeah. There are other things that you might not be aware of. I started a spending journal to sort of figure out how much money I'm spending. And what I discovered was my kids were going to the dentist regularly. This was not something that I was aware of. So they were going actually monthly. And when I looked at my spending journal, I could see, I had 3 kids. I was spending on average about $250 a month to go to the dentist, which was very surprising to me because it didn't seem like they were going there that often. But with 3 children and you're just trying to make sure the teeth are okay and, the checkups are happening and, there might be a cavity and blah, 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 all of this stuff. But without, because seeing it and not thinking about it. When I wrote it in my spending journal, I could see that these were regular charges that I was being billed for by the dentist, right? So to reevaluate, not that I let the kids' teeth go rotten, I needed to reevaluate like the purpose of going there. So if they were going there for a cleaning, did we need to do an x-ray? Right? Or did the hygienist just need to do the cleaning and the dentist didn't need to look at them? Right? Could it just be that kind of visit? But that spending journal triggered that for me to say, okay, wait a minute, don't just mindlessly go about paying these bills. Pay attention to what it is that you're that's going out of the account. So a spending journal is one of the ways that you can also keep track of what's going on with your finances.
The last thing to look at is if there's anything left over. So another common thing I saw in banking was overdraft. Some people get a little bit too comfortable using their overdraft. So all the bills come out, the account is overdrawn, but we have overdraft protection and it doesn't matter. There is a fee associated with dipping into that overdraft protection. So where that's going. And this deep dive on finance, where you're looking very closely at what you're spending, will also help you figure out what your wants and your needs are. Unfortunately, nobody from the bank is going to call you and be like, hey, guy, spending's looking a little bit whack. You have to take responsibility and do it yourself. By putting your needs ahead of wants, so you'll see your necessities flow through your spending inventory. You'll see items like your rent, your food, if you need to drive to get to work, your fuel expenses, your utilities. And then you also want to take control of your spending and look for items that you don't need to spend, which you'll also see in the spending inventory. So we talked about earlier that trip to Winter. Apparently your kid's dental as well. Oh, my teeth. And other items like that you don't necessarily need to spend money on. An interesting thing we can do here is kind of compare this to temptation. So when you're driving past and you feel like buying something, it can feel like a temptation to buy and a sin to pressure yourself into buying something that you don't need. It's a similar thought there for you. You want to try and control your wants and your needs and not give into that temptation to buy something because it's convenient or because it's something that you want in the moment, not something necessarily that you need, or even something that you covet. You might be looking over the fence and seeing that your neighbor has a brand new sports car and thinking to yourself, kind of time I update my sports car. staying focused into what you can afford within your current income will help you find your needs. Something that I do personally, anytime I want to make a big purchase, is I over-research. I'm sure some of you will go into careers in sales, and some of you may have had careers in sales. I personally am a horrible salesperson, but some salespeople are very good. And the moment you step into that door, you can be convinced to buy anything they want you to buy, right? You're giving them the power. So go into that conversation knowing ahead of time. For example, when I purchased my car, the salespeople were very excited to make their sale, and very happy to try and upsell me and outsell me into numbers that they assumed I didn't understand. They were terribly mistaken. Because I had done all that research ahead of time, I knew exactly what I was walking into. I knew exactly how my loan should look. I knew exactly what car I wanted to buy. They were just along for the ride. And sure enough, when they did try their shady sales tactic, I so happily I did redirect them to the things that I was going to expect from that sale. So I took advantage of the situation I wasn't taken advantage of in the situation. I had that want versus needs plan ahead of time, and I want to know it.
Yeah, reducing the impulse, the stronger things that you can do to help you achieve financial stability. So slowing it down, also really thinking about that. I don't have it. Can it wait until next month? Like, so just slowing things down so that you can really, really think about whether or not you purchase. What Breeann did and what she talked about was the actual researching of that vehicle and knowing how much she wanted to spend and not being coerced into making an or being dazzled by the shininess of the car or whatever, right? So just slowing it down and where maybe I can find it cheaper on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, another important thing is planning for your purchases. So if you know in 3 years' time you want to buy a house, start saving for your down payment now. Set that money aside now. Salespeople exist in banks too. They want to sell you on a mortgage. They want to convince you that you need to buy a home. Know for yourself ahead of time. If you need to sit down and look at your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, 25-year plan, where are the big purchases in that timeline? If you plan for those ahead of time and you're setting money aside, like that vacation goal, instead for a home, you're going to feel a lot more stable in your financial decision. Heading over who was going to do what. So credit and debt. Specifically, debt that we call credit. So I'm talking about your credit cards, your short-term loans, your fixed loans, your floating loans, car loan, mortgage. All of these are different kinds of debt that you will likely see during your lifetime. Debt is not something to be afraid of. Often you hear people say, like, stay away from credit cards, never get a loan, always pay cash for stuff so that you can make sure you have the money. A famous commercial around this time of year is from Interact, encouraging you to pay with debit so that you don't have to worry later on, which is not a bad strategy, but it's not the best strategy for your overall financial health. Credits?
Maybe let's just, because we kind of not agree, but I think that when you're not financially stable and you're in an immature state, you have to be really wise when you're going towards debt, right? So the idea of having the cash on hand before you make that purchase, that is actually good. It's wise. It's a wise thing to do. When you're going to play with credit, it does take some self-control and some maturity, right? That all that impulse stuff that we talk about, that can drive you to some very bad areas, right? So if you're able to control yourself and your ability to purchase stuff and not act on impulse, then yes, be open to credit. If you're not there, then have the cash on hand before you venture into the world.
Fair statement. Credit scores. You all need a credit card. One of the best things that happened to me in university was I went to the bank and the teller told me to get a credit card and said I was nuts for not having it. It's the most brilliant thing that you could do. In line with what my mom said, though, she gave me a $500 credit limit. As a student, you can always qualify for a $500 credit card because the banks want you to learn how to use credit cards anyway. So you don't have to have a job or anything like that. That $500 needs to be $500 that you currently have in your bank account. Just by using that credit card on a regular basis, you will build your credit incredibly well, especially for somebody who doesn't have any assets or other debts yet. Easiest one to do, get a credit card. Every time you buy gas on your credit card, get home, pay off the gas on the credit card. It will get you into the habit of using your credit card and also paying off your credit card right away. So credit cards specifically come with the warning that when you spend on them and you leave that balance on them for a month, the interest rate is very high. I think it actually just went up for inflation. It's around like 22.99 for most credit cards percent daily. So if you've taken a finance course, know that that's kind of scary. But in the short term, credit cards have tons of benefits and they have tons of perky things that go with them, like cash back or travel rewards, all items that benefit you. So coming back to the slide, first step in building your credit score is getting a credit card. To have a high enough or a strong enough credit score to qualify for a mortgage, typically you would need 2 credit cards. So if mortgage is in your 5-year plan, 2 credit cards should be in your 5-year plan. Your credit score itself is kind of like something you can never fully understand. Credit scores are controlled by 2 specific companies, TransUnion and Equifax. They gather information on your payment history based on your social insurance numbers tracked. So did you pay your credit cards on time? Did you pay your utilities bill on time? Did you ever have a landlord who maybe registered a complaint that to the anything sent to collections? That's what I'm looking for. Those are all things that can hurt your credit score. Also, anytime you enroll in another big loan, that is a hit on your credit score. And anytime you let anybody run your credit score, it also creates a hit as well. So if you're shopping and somebody's like, oh yeah, we can sign you up for our new Walmart credit card. It's okay to say no. The discount might be tempting, but it's okay to say no because that's another hit on your credit score. And the more that you get those runs, they start to hurt your credit score. Really quickly, just down into the types of debt that you might encounter. So credit cards we talked about, mortgages, we won't have enough time for our presentation today to go into depth on mortgages, but this is a fixed loan that is attached to an asset, that asset being your home. A mortgage is not a bad thing. Housing prices in Canada are insane. You will likely need a mortgage to afford a home. Get a really great job and a really great degree. And so you don't have to be afraid of a mortgage. Your mortgage rate always is attached to your credit score. So that legwork that you're going to do right away to build your credit will pay off in the long run with your mortgage rate. Payday loans are something you never want to ever get. These short-term loans have incredibly high interest rates and are designed to make you fail and fall into debt. They are just an opportunity for people who are taking advantage of people who are in financial distress. And, retail lenders include things like your banks, financial institutions, the Walmart credit card department, all of those people who are willing to lend you money. Rates and schedules is another important thing to look at with your debt. So look up the interest rate. Anytime you're going to get a loan, whether it be a car loan, a mortgage, fixed loan of some type, Pull up the prime rate for the government or the Bank of Canada and see where you're at relative to the prime rate. That will help you know if the offer is reasonable. Most times rates are negotiable. So if you tell a bank that you don't want to receive your loan at that rate, sometimes you can get them to go down. You just have to do your research ahead of time. And I know from the background that they hate it when you ask, but if you ask, they will try. And then also your payment schedule is really important. I can use my car purchase as an example. They wanted to have me pay for my car over 15 years. And most cars are really only in their prime for the first 10, at least. 15 years, yeah. That was their most popular term, and they thought I was going for it. But I know from my background that that's way too long. So look at how long you're going to be paying for the item. If you want to think back of a terrible example, there were a lot of people who bought some very fancy large TVs in the 90s that paid for them well into the 2010s, when those TVs were completely obsolete. Oh, that's so neat. Okay, saving for a rainy day. So we talked a little bit about what to save and why savings are important. So how much should you save? There is a 50-30-20 rule. So in that scenario, you would save or you would set aside 50% for your needs, 20% to go to saving, and 30% for the things that you want. So again, here we're budgeting for the things that we want. Instead of impulse buying, we can finish our budget for the month and maybe we have $200 set aside that we get to do something fun with. If you have kids, it's like you're going out fun activity money. Another really important part of saving for a rainy day though is what if you lose your income? So what if your company goes under? What if you're suddenly laid off? What are you going to do? So the moment that you find yourself in a solid job, it's very tempting to adjust your spending. So the job got better, house is going to get bigger, the car is going to get nicer. Stop. Right there, you want to forecast 3 to 6 months of paying for your needs. How much money would you need to go 3 to 6 months without a job? If you are in a very high earning type of industry, it is likely that it's going to take you longer to find another high earning job. And so you might need to forecast longer. You want to set money aside for at least the amount of time that will take you to find a new source.
In your really good job, you don't get the bigger house or the bigger car or the fancier coat or whatever. You still live as you were earning the previous paycheck, right? So that extra money you put aside for a rainy day, because rainy days can happen anytime. Your car might, experience a detrimental thing and you have to get a new car. There might be a significant health issue. That whole sort of living within your means and staying within that space, even when your income is growing, is really important. Talked about how to achieve financial stability. We talked about saving for a rainy day, budgeting. Budgeting is very important. Journal. We talked about what was the other wants versus needs. So those are things that will help you in your financial stability. It means having long-term goals. Budget and sticking to that budget. You can do this through a financial journal, like you said before, tracking your spending and building your budget from there. Creating, adding, and keeping an emergency fund. That's the rainy day fund. If you're able to do a side hustle, like that's always good to have that extra money coming in, or a second job to maintain your income. That's all. It does provide security and it's a good investment. Become familiar with the vehicles such as the TFSA and the RS. These are very beneficial when you're considering your long-term goals.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, no financial advisor is going to care as much about you as you care about yourself. You have to be selfish with your finances. They are yours, they're your responsibility. People are kind, but they are also trying to make them.
So retirement, I'm looking here and like, they're so far away from retirement, but some of us are. So that's all right. Okay, so your job matters because saving for retirement is a multi-year journey. It's important to start saving for your retirement in your youth. Rather than target a dollar figure, think about a lifestyle that you want when you retire. Your retirement needs will be different when you're younger. You won't need fancy clothes to go to work. Your transportation costs will be less. Family that you're looking after. Ideally, you want to find an employer that has a good pension plan. And there are 3 kinds of pension arrangements. And most people, if they have a pension plan, have one of the 3. Pension and group RRSPs. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about what they are. Employer pays you a regular income after you retire. Usually both you and your employer can contribute to the pension plan, and your contributions are pooled into a fund. Your employer or a pension plan administrator invests and manages the fund. Benefit. In the defined contribution plan, pays a defined amount into your pension plan each year. The money in your defined contribution pension plan is invested in one or more financial products on your behalf. You may be able to choose how your money is invested. And then the group RSP is a retirement savings plan sponsored by your employer. You open an individual RRSP, but you pay through it through your employer. So you contribute through your regular deductions from your paycheck. So in Canada, there's also the CPP. It was established in 1965, and it provides a basic benefit package for retirees or disabled people. If the recipient of the CPP dies, survivors receive the plan's benefits. The Old Age Security Program, or OAS, provides a basic level of retirement income. In 2022, it was $642 and change per month to Canadian residents, along with an additional support for low-income seniors, which was up to $900. GIS. Yeah. So financial stability in retirement. So there are 8 steps from my own Google research to financial stability in retirement. And the first one is to have a plan, but stay flexible. So as you enter retirement, consider what you want to do, where you want to live. Stay informed about the things such as the tax laws and the cost of living that might have an impact.
They're also your change their benefit plan as you're nearing retirement. Pay attention to the announcement.
True. Budget. So even in retirement, you need a budget. The irony of retirement is now you have more time to spend money, but less money to spend. So it's really important that you stay within your budget. In retirement, you might also want to consider another source of income. One of my favorite things to do is to visit with this lady at the gas station and just thinking, like, you know, it's so strange that she was a bit elderly to have this job. And then she, through conversations, like, this is my second career. This is what I do after retirement. I only work here, you know, I think she said once a week. But give me some stability in my life. And it gets me meeting new people, right? So that second out of debt as much as possible when you're in retirement. Less money coming in means that you have to really consider all your expenditures. If your friends or family members come and ask you for money, as they will, to consider what they okay, maybe it's a gift, and consider it that. In retirement, you don't need the really big house. You're building their own life. So it might be an opportunity to get rid of the mortgage, lower utilities, take care of your health to maintain your financial stability. The last thing you want to do is experience a health crisis, and that can have a detrimental effect on your financial stability. Protecting your investment. So older people are often the target of fraudulent scam artists, and they might come to you with speculative investments that guarantee some returns, and it's stuff that you haven't really heard of. Remember your tried and true methods that got you into retirement and stick to those, and be really wary of people who could take advantage of you like that. Don't be overly generous. Christmas time comes around and grandma and grandpa like to give a lot of money. Sometimes you just have to look at your budget and see what you can afford and hold on to that. And, you know, love is a gift as well. But you can afford it. And take advantage of the senior discounts. Like, now that you're in your retirement, percentages, 10%, 5%, they add up. And as Ben Franklin said, a penny saved is a penny earned. Identification, just in case you look too young. Sorry, your ID. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. A very quick recap for important points. The first thing is discipline. So take responsibility for your finances, do your research and develop and plan, and then live within your means. Don't spend more than what you're bringing in, and tailor your wants and needs based on that. You need to prepare for a rainy day, so have that emergency fund, and then invest your money so that it can maintain its value and growth. You also want to utilize the resources available to you. Okay, is the most important resource. Take time to create your budget, inventory your spending, understand your taxes and your finances. You may have opportunities to save money in your taxes. Contributing to your RSP will reduce your taxes payable. Being a student is also an excellent discount. And plan for the future. Why did we say this was life-changing? Why did we say that? Because when you're financially stable, life is less stressful and less worrisome, and it allows you to focus on the things that really matter. It allows you to experience an improved quality. Enhancement, it's not the case. We'll end with this. As a slack hand becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. Proverbs 10.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take the first question because Tell me not to love me.
Don't.